Hey everybody, this is John Miller with Hometown Historian channel, and here with Chuck as well. You can hear something blowing up my back tire because I haven't been driving the van now for going on 2 months now, I think. Finally out of the cast today. Thank the Lord. Yeah, if I would have had to do it another week or so, that'd be fine. I do have to have a contour boot on that I had. It was something they tried before they went to the cast. Now it seems like it's really easy to walk in, because the difference between walking around in this and the cast boot, like I said before a number of times, it's like dragging around a dead moose attached to your leg. And so the wound's completely healed. We're going to wind up using, I think, the contour boot for at least another week or two, just to give the thing the chance to. One of the big issues I've had in the past, if I've had a wound, I will wind out, it'll heal and then it'll break down again. So the contour boot basically keeps the pressure and the weight off of it. So hopefully I don't have another breakdown in that regard. So we'll see what happens, but we're in a good position in that regard. Once again, I do apologize to all those. I've got a ton of emails to catch up on. I've talked to Kate a lot about it. I don't know, when you go through this stuff, especially for as long of a period of time as this has been coming up, well, 3 years, well, coming up on 3 years, 'cause I think it will be 4 years actually, because I think it was late June of 2019 when I first got injured on the job, and then I've been struggling with it ever since. So almost died a couple times in that time period, had all these different issues, and I'm healed. I want to keep myself that way. So the plan is for myself physically is, as I start to get my balance back a little bit better, the contour boot, I'm not going to try to do that too much, so I'm still not going to be doing a whole lot of walking. Depending on what happens, I do want to get out and do a little bit of filming, some shorts and things like that, just because I want to start getting the films going again. And I can physically handle it. I am feeling a lot better. It was just, my blood sugar never returned to normal after the last surgeries, the last end of July and last year, because I had my first 2 in July, and I think the second 2 were in the first week of August. And I just never recovered for whatever reason. It just took such a toll on me. I think there's such a toll everything on my body already. And it was just sort of a culmination of all these different things. I just had so many issues, but actually feeling pretty good. And I think emotionally I'm feeling pretty good, because you hit a depressive state at times. And let me quick pause here, because I think the thing just stopped, and I want to make sure it keeps on blowing that tire up. Alright, so I wanted to check the thing's blowing this tire up, and it's good enough. And I'll go to the, because it's just a regular sort of battery charger, and the blowing up capability of this thing isn't very terribly great, but I didn't realize the tire had gone that low, because I have this rear tire I got to replace. Every 2 weeks I got to fill it again, and I just couldn't do that because I can't drive. And now I can finally drive again, so I'm gonna quick go to a gas station, put some gas in the chuck and make them happy, and then fill that tire up as well, and get that taken care of and get it back up to where it's supposed to be, and go see Mom, take care of a few other things, and go from there. But anyways, because of everything that's happened, it just sort of, you hit a depressive state, and it's just so hard to get yourself going. You know, it's something I've always struggled with from the time I was a teenager, and I don't even know necessarily how to explain it other than you just feel, I think you get overwhelmed more than anything, and it's hard to get going. So it's not that I'm trying to ignore anybody or anything like that. It is what it is. And hopefully now that I'm able to get outside again and start moving forward, you in essence have that light at the end of the tunnel there. And it's just everything else as well. It's just been such a battle. So I'm hoping as well, it sounds like the government offices are finally open in Pennsylvania, so I'm going to pay them a visit and have a chit chat about them resolving this thing, and if there is a card there for the unemployment they owe me from over a year ago, hopefully that can get resolved, and then financially it makes things a little bit easier. And then hopefully we're supposed to hopefully as well get some answers with disability and things like that, so hopefully by the end of April and May start seeing some things that have been weighing on my mind resolved in some form, and then I can start looking at, once that's taken care of, I can start looking at applying to this housing, and hopefully I can get in there and sort of get a sense of normalcy again. Once again, I'm incredibly indebted to so many of you, so many people in my life that gave through the GoFundMes that I had to run to just sort of survive, and to my friend Bob, who's giving me a place to stay, and just the encouragement as well from so many people. And that's why I think it bothers me, not only out of courtesy, but also because so many of you have been so encouraging to me, and I don't know, it's just one of those things. If anybody that's suffered with depression and depressive states, it makes it hard sometimes. You just have trouble. The normal functioning that a human being should be able to do is just a struggle. And I have my good times and I have my bad times, and right now it's just one of those times where you're just sort of like struggling to persevere. And but this was a big encouragement today to get past that. But I wanted to give you guys an update on that. Also, Moss Lady had gone to such efforts and arranging for us to go to St. Paul's United Brethren Church Cemetery in Indiantown Gap, and the folks at Indiantown Gap, the museum director herself, and one military officer who took us out there. Big thanks to them. They were so very, very gracious with that. Also, Moss Lady was able to get a couple photographs of the church when it had still been in existence. Back in the early 30s is when it was torn down, I think 1932. That was right that time when Gap got started, and then they started buying land around, parcels of land that had been populated, and everything got depopulated. That's what happened with St. Joseph Springs, where the infamous murder of Joseph Raber happened with the Blue-Eyed Six. And so those were originally a very populated area. Now in St. Joseph Springs case, that was an actual town. It was a pretty decent sized town, whereas where this St. Paul's was, I think it was more sparse farmland, so it wasn't necessarily a town. I don't really think it had a name, but there were farms in the area, there were homes, and there obviously was the church. But we were also able to answer a question that I had brought up before over at Mount Nebo Cemetery in Ono. Supposedly, local legend was that an individual who had been a slave to Thomas Jefferson on one of his estates had come north. Whether they had escaped or been freed, I would lean towards probably escaped. And they, especially given the time period of when it would have happened, it most likely would have been that they escaped. It was said that they were buried in that cemetery. Now, I hadn't been able to get a name, and I said it was one of those things I wanted to revisit at some point. I was hoping we'd be able to find out the information, visit their grave site, and that through the help of a gentleman who was there as well at this Indiantown Gap thing. We met him afterwards, and then he took us through some of the records and showed where they would have been buried, him and his family. And it's cool because Lebanon County Historical Society has done a article on this gentleman named Daniel Jones, and they were able to research that it's not just legend or urban myth or whatever you want to call it, but they actually got about as close to verifying that this gentleman, they got records back on one of the estates that they were able to find his name and all that. So pretty cool stuff. So we got a couple of those videos coming out. I also am doing the next video of finding history, which I'd like to complete today. I do want to explain to Moss Lady as well. The reason neither of those videos has come out yet, partially because of the whole thing of me just not being able to get to it. But secondly, I am going to go back and film at Ono again at the grave sites, because what I did film, the audio was pretty bad. The St. Paul's one is good, and then with being able to add those pictures in, that's great. I have a couple other videos lined up, so hopefully over the next couple days I'll start getting some of these videos out. I'd like to get the Finding History video out today as well, which would be about the motorcycle man of Millersburg, who was my mom's uncle, and her Aunt Mary, his wife, that ran this motorcycle shop, and talk a little more in depth about them, about the motorcycles and that type of stuff. So hoping that one will come out, and we'll go from there. But don't want to take this too long, keep it around a 10 to 12 minute video. But I want to say thank you as always for you guys sticking with me and with the channel, and another bump in the road just health wise, and hopefully from here take it day by day and sort of build my strength up, do a little more every single day, and then get myself better and better. My blood sugars are finally normalizing. They're not quite back to where we want them, but they're getting very, very close. So I think whatever's going on, I think we're finally taking a turn for the good and go from there. So hopefully we'll be able to get everything going with the channel again and go from there, and have some fun, see some more history, because I got a lot of cool stuff that I'd like to do, like to plan, and we'll see where all that goes. But thank you as always, and we will see you all about town.